You're welcome back. This Newsfile and my guests, Dr. Tony Obing, James Agalga, Martin Pebu, and Alexander Kwamina Afenyo Marking. And like I said earlier, here we are, but not too much time, but this is your comfort zone. So what would you say, or what's your appreciation of what it is that happened in the Shaanxi mining company that led to 16 people dying and the order for them to, shut down until investigations are over?
Right. I think mining in this country is actually covered by laws, clear laws, and of course regulations. For mining, the act of mining itself, I think 2180, LI 2182 is probably the key document for that. And the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission is actually the wing responsible for ensuring that health and safety issues are taken care of. Now, blasting is part of mining. So you do blasting under certain conditions, under certain information that you provide and all that.
So they went there in the morning to start work, and then they did the blast whilst they were down there, and then they get suffocated and they are dead.
My reading of what happened in Shaanxi, and Shaanxi is a mine which is owned by the Chinese, and they are supposed to be providing service to Ghanaian small-scale miners. They do not have the, I don't know whether it's changed, but when I was there, they were working for some Ghanaian small-scale mining company. So they are small-scale miners. They're supposed to be. I was actually surprised that when there was a ban on them, there was a ban on small-scale miners, they were working. I'm sure they had special arrangement, which for me, I don't have a problem. Now, what I understand is that when they blasted, and it had happened before, a group of community members, some community members, would just rush into the underground. It's an underground process, and then go and pick loose materials for processing. And so
for gold.
For gold. Sometimes people do not appreciate the toxicity of the materials used in blasting. So they will quickly go there, rush, and then come out. Some of them would survive, some would not survive. But at the intensity of the blast, at the intensity of the material of the substance that were used, you could easily suffocate and die. They call it gasification. You could be gasified and you would die. Sometimes, and there have been instances where somebody has even supported another person, someone who was down there, went through the gas, has supported somebody to the hospital. That person had been revived, but the other person, believing, thinking that, oh, he was okay, went back home and died. I mean, there have been instances like that, especially in the Gbane area. So,
so not much is being done to, get them to avoid these situations.
Exactly, because this was not the incident of recent time was not new. It had happened before, and I thought that maybe some effort have been made to avoid, because some of them have holes that come from, I understand, their compounds, so they can go through the underground of Shaanxi, without them knowing.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a hole, in Konongo, there were some people who had holes in their houses. It's covered, you are in the house as if you're in the house, but there's a hole down there where you can access the underground facility of another company. So it looks to me that this was what happened. I don't have the full fact, but from the readings, the media readings, it appears that they announced that they were going to blast, which is what they have to do. They took all the precautions, but unknown to them, the guys went down there, and in the end, this unfortunate incident.
So in the circumstances, there is no any liability, responsibility on their part?
There might be responsibility as to whether they provided enough caution, whether they did enough to prevent others from coming there. That I don't know, the extent to which they, and then having known about the history, that these things have been happening, did they take enough precaution to prevent?
But is there any deliberate efforts, by the commission, to go into these areas and give education to avoid these?
I'm sure the commission has done that before.
Were you doing that?
Yes, the commission. I know some of my, when I was there, some of my staff went to the communities to try and explain. They would do that, but you know, I think a bit of enforcement issues always would be a challenge to our nation, and then people also being a little bit recalcitrant. That, well, I mean, even though it's risky, and I must appreciate that these are issues of poverty and survival. Why would anybody go into those risky places thinking that I will get some materials for gold if the person had some good thing to do or some job to do? So, and of course, it also goes into the reasons why people go into Galamsey. They do that, they risk themselves because of poverty and other issues. So,
and briefly, the Obuasi mine reopened story. That's a lot of good news, right?
I think it's fantastic news. You know, we need to contextualize Obuasi mine as a one-time flagship mine of this country. We also need to understand that at a point in time, the production level of Obuasi, I mean, it used to be the most productive mine in the country, and it still has significant resources underground. But certain circumstances following the taking over by, in this my interpretation, by Anglo Gold Ashanti. I mean, there was a context between Anglo Gold and Rand Gold, for which Anglo Gold won, and I supported Anglo Gold. If I had to vote, I would have voted for them anyway. Now, I believe that what they did not do well when they took the mine was the fact that development did not occur in the way that it should. You know, when you have a mine, especially if it's an underground mine, your development must be 2 years ahead of mining. The mine was producing, so they bought a producing mine. And I think more attention was paid to production rather than planning, you know, how to produce more. I think that didn't occur in an effective way. Again, there were some good Ghanaians who had experience in underground mining operations. For instance, people like Kwesi Enyan, people like Freda Takuma, and other Ghanaians who had been involved in this. In fact, I know Mr. Kwesi Enyan had worked with the Pristia mine or Takwa mine before, underground, and I spent a lot of time, was one time the managing director. Yet, after the takeover, I think they were all sidelined with the kind of experience that they had. And they brought in, this is my interpretation, they brought in quite a good number of expatriates whose experience were more on open pit mining, surface mining. So, of course, it's mining, but the practice may be different. You may have the technical knowledge of mining, but the actual practice...
What is it exactly that happened that they had to, as it were, invest as much as $81 million for the redevelopment? And we are told that it is projected that 1.6 billion investment will go into it in 22 years.
Yes. You know, these are some of the strange of issues that were neglected, like the lack of development right from there. I think it came at a certain point in time. And I think from 2010, if my figures are right going, the cost of production by Anglo Gold was actually matching, and at a point in time, it overshot the receipts. You know, the cost that you incur in producing and the revenue. And at a point, they were even receiving support from South Africa, which meant that it was not going to be possible to mine. Of course, they knew there were, I mean, there's 7 million ounces of gold known to be there, and there will be more. So then they approached government at that time that we want to just have a focus on developing the mine. So they took it out for, they call it, what is it, maintenance. You know, you put it out there and then you focus on the maintenance. You don't mine. And so that you place all resources and making sure that you bring it up. So that's what was done. And I'm very happy. And again, I want to congratulate my friend Eric Subontin and his team, people even before him, Freda Takuma and all, for all the efforts that they have put in to bring
right. So Martin, this was also part of a political promise, really, by the NPP, that they would make sure this happened. And the president is not missing words about it, that we said we'll do it. We've done it. 2,500 jobs are coming on board. But is it enough that within the period of 22 years, what is going to come to us as a country is $2.16 billion in revenue, royalties, corporate and withholding taxes? Is that enough?
No, not at all. So that is where the real debate should be. You know, that age-long debate about whether we are really getting enough for our natural resources. You know, so many people have written about it. Professor Akila Kwasoya, Professor Achuayi, so many. I'm sure Dr. Obintu would have. You know, it's clear to us that we need to do something. So are we saying that as a nation, how many years after independence, we can't also exploit these resources for ourselves? That figure is paltry. It's small. So I mean, when I looked at it, yeah, much as I know that the jobs matter, they matter for political purposes, but long term, look at the figure, 881 million. That's what they've invested right now to start. So I'm like, oh, so as a nation, we couldn't raise such sum of money to operate the mine by ourselves. So to be candid, it's worrying. It's worrying that we can't do anything of such a magnitude by ourselves. You know, when you come to our oil, the same thing. I mean, we should also be able to exploit for ourselves. The fact that we failed in the past, we to our attitudes, you know, that excessive greed, Ghanaians, who, you know, when it's government job, what's it, Abanejuma, you know, that attitude, negative attitude towards government.
You know,
I'm just supporting that. I have said it before, that as a country, we must also find a way of getting directly into the business.
Okay.
You know, when you go to Botswana, and we've been praising Botswana as the you know, example of a successful mining African mining jurisdiction. Now, in Botswana, the Botswana government owns 51% of Botswana, and they don't own by just sending people there. In Ghana, they will just send politicians there, and their skin is in the pie.
Let me just get a minute from each of my other guests here, the politicians. Now, so we're told the economic benefit is estimated to be 5.3 billion. So for you in government, this is one box ticked, correct?
Okay, Samson. One, good opportunity for the people in the Obuasi area to get jobs. Two,
many of them lost their jobs.
Yes. Two, we need people to be more responsible, those in the mining sector to be more responsible. Look at other social effects to the mining and then see how they can help the various communities.
Okay.
That's very important for Anglo Gold to look at. There's a call on Ghanaians to take advantage of their own natural resources. Yes, not only natural resources, everything. This week I raised the issue of the attitude of our workers at Ghana Water. And I'm using this to repeat that call. That we can make more money if we stop the illegal connection of water.
Okay.
Those who are also mining close to water bodies, they should bear in mind that it is costing Ghana Water so much. When we visited the western region, areas that was costing us less in water treatment is costing us more.
James, I'm sorry, but some 30 seconds.
Illegal mining
some 30 seconds.
The expert has spoken. It's clear that the mine redevelopment was part of the obligations of Anglo Gold. And so today, if operations have commenced, I mean, maintenance had to be carried out.
Because of government.
Even starting from 2014, there were limited operations. Yes, we have the security aspects, etc. But it is clear that it is not through the effort of any government.
That's right.
Stanley where Shaanxi is not your constituency, but as an MP in that within that caucus, what do you expect in the investigations?
Well, I expect the investigations to be carried out diligently, and if there are breaches of the law, I mean, people should be brought to book, because the loss of 16 lives is unacceptable.
Thank you. Even one. Okay, thank you very much. This is where we draw the curtains. Samson Ladi Anyanini, my guest, Dr. Tony Obing is founder and president, Africa Institute of Extractive Industries, and former CEO, Ghana Mines Minerals Commission, and the former CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Alexander Kwamina Afenyomaking, is a MP, a Futu, and member, Public Accounts, Defense and Interior Committees of Parliament. That's where he's a member. Martin Pebu is a lawyer. That's all he wants me to say. And James Agalga is MP, Bulsa North, ranking member, Defense and Interior Committees of Parliament, and former Deputy Minister of the Interior. Have a good afternoon. The news is up next.